Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wilde, and hey, we're off adventuring into the spaces between today. I hope you guys are just having a fantastic Thursday because, well, it's just been an interesting kind of week already. I don't know if you've noticed or not. Maybe you have. I have, anyways. Yeah, I have. Um, yes, I have. Um, hmm. So, welcome to Rumble for those of you who are new here. I've got a new setup, and it's kind of fun because, yeah, I've got a pop up, and I'm just going to follow along here. It says, "Hey everyone, tired of paying outrageous prices for your medications while other countries pay a fraction of the cost? Well, President Trump just signed on an executive order to fix this problem, but why wait? Blockbusterhealth.com is already offering Americans these savings right now. We're talking up to 80% off the same exact medications that you're already taking. Same brand, same quality, just fair prices. Whether it's Ozempic, insulin, or any other prescription, Blockbuster Health connects you directly with licensed pharmacies that offer international pricing. No middlemen, no markup, just honest prices. Call 1-888 350 1353 or visit blockbusterhealth.com. Americans should not have to choose between their health and their wallet. Check it out. All right. So, yes, welcome again for joining me here at the Spaces Between. It's been a while. For those of you who have followed me off and on over the years, which is crazy, right? I say over the years because, yeah, it has been years. Stop and think about it. Really, truly, years. Do, do, do. All right, not touching anything, and it makes too much noise. Years that I've been doing the Spaces Between, and as with anything, change happens. We get more gray. You get a little older. The kids grow up. They move out of the house. They realize life isn't what they wanted. They move back. Um, and all that stuff. And yeah. So yes. So yeah, it's just been just pretty fantastic. For those of you who have been carried along with the journey, Mini Me is now 11. She's going into sixth grade. Yeah, can you believe that? Sixth grade. Oh yeah, boy howdy. And boy is things are changing. Technology is very different. I've expanded the craft room a little bit, the chaos room, if you will. And the studio's changed over the years. We've got some different equipment. Thank you, Freeman, for helping me out here. We're now on Truth Refugee, trying to get the message out and share the truth of the world, because the truth has changed even just a wee bit because it has. Well, maybe not the truth, but the way that we are. Sorry, need to adjust all the debris here. The way we're getting the truth out has changed. Originally I just started out on YouTube, just like, hey, let's get this, and now we're doing the Rumble and Twitter and YouTube, and I think it's going out on Twitter. Maybe not. But anyways, if it's not, I'll repost it later. And it just, trying to share a message. And along the way, I've kind of redefined, if you will, what my path is. because I just started out, hey, I'm a solitary witch and pagan, not quite sure what's out there because, paganism and has changed a little bit over the years. Not so much changed, I guess, but perhaps the acceptance has changed. And it has, and the awareness of it has. And there's now things like death doulas have become more accepted, which I think is fantastic. Oh my stars. And just the awareness of other religions and other belief patterns, and just the acceptance of paganism across the board has become more authentic, if you will. It's not so much like, ugh, roll the eyes at the pagan. It's more like, hey, well, someone's pagan. Okay, cool. Let's learn about it. Or the other day, someone I've known for a number of years, but we kind of have ebbed and flowed with our relationship and our friendship, that kind of thing. We met and had coffee, and we talked about me being a priestess and what my definition of paganism and that kind of thing. And she's like, "What's that mean to you?" And so we talked about it, and so and she ultimately was one of those very devout, trying to think of the right adjectives here, very, very devout and rigidly thinking in her Christian belief path, if you will. And so she wanted to know more about what I was talking about, and how I defined my belief set as a pagan and a priestess. And so yeah, we had a really great conversation, and it was nice to be able to spread that belief without feeling like I was going to be ostracized for it. And so I guess with the growth and the wider acceptance of paganism and witchcraft in general, has just been phenomenal. And it's phenomenal. I just, that's just the best word ever. Phenomenal. It's been phenomenal. And so yeah, it's just really, really been growing. So I suppose just thank you to all of you who are willing to listen and to allow yourselves to grow. So I guess there's a little bit of irony when I say thank you to all of you for allowing that growth. And then for my topic today to be, what is death? And I say that with a bit of a smile and a bit of a chuckle, because for those of you who pay attention to such things, this week Ozzy Osbourne died. Kind of a big deal. As a Gen Xer, he was like an icon, like he was like the big bad for so many people. Their parents like, oh, you can't listen to Ozzy Osbourne. He's the son of Satan. You're gonna go to hell if you listen to him. Obviously not. I mean, he's actually a pretty cool dude. Did he do some crazy things? Absolutely. Yes. Without a doubt, unequivocally, yes. He lived his life out there loud and proud and unapologetically. Just like we all should, honestly. No, maybe not with so many substances, but yeah, he really lived his life out to the fullest. Hulk Hogan passed away this morning. He had a heart attack, from what I understand, supposedly. Honestly, not surprised. Man, that boy could really channel some adrenaline and get his blood pumping. If anybody ever watched any of the wrestling matches, some of those, yes, I know they were choreographed. There's a lot of acting involved, yes, but there's actually a lot of like actual like energy in there. I mean, they did things that were like a big deal, and so another iconic individual within his genre of entertainment. Both of them like icons. And so I get to think, instead of doing another herb, which I was going to do, I wanted to talk about death today. Because if you look across, especially Western society as a whole, our society seems to fear death and aging a lot. I mean, if you look at a lot of the advertising and marketing materials out there, a lot of them are anti-aging. Like, rub this cream or ointment on your skin to erase fine lines and wrinkles. Use this thing. You use Botox to get rid of the wrinkles. You'd see a lot of actors and media folks on TV. They've had Botox or whatnot to get rid of the wrinkles. They have no more expressions on their face because, everything's been numbed to the point where they can't even lift an eyebrow to save their life. Or, people have had so many modifications to their faces that you don't know who they are anymore because they're trying to stay young or youthful looking, or they've completely restructured their body to look like somebody else. And it's just the amount of money that is spent on surgeries and medications and lotions and potions and pills to try to keep us from looking older is amazing. And the amount of money invested into trying to come up with new ways to keep us from aging is insane. And the number of cults out there that are, trying to keep us from aging or trying to avoid death is OMG insane. And it's just, wow. I mean, the death cults, a lot of cults out there are very focused on death. And hello, Leo. So if you look at a lot of cults out there, you will find that death is like a big deal, and death rites in general are a big deal. And if you look at many of, like, Christianity, for example, many of the different churches within Christianity have many different ways of managing death, from having vigils to having massive parties to not even talking about it. So, there's just so many different things. And so ultimately, first off, as I've done with many of my shows, what is death? Let's just define it, So the Oxford Languages, Oxford Dictionary says death is, well, the state of being dead, right? It's the destruction or permanent end of something, the permanent end of vital processes in cells or tissues, the state of being dead, damaging or destructive state of affairs. Basically, it's for biological purposes, your heart stops beating, your brain activity ends, and that is physical death, right? Studies are showing now that there are still, in theory, some brain activity and your synapses are still firing electrically, and there's still some things happening within your mind, potentially in your brain post-death. So even if your time of death is called at like 11:32, I think it's like 5 to 10 minutes post-death. At that time of death, there's still potential brain activity. So your brain could still be doing things. And even though your physical body might die, depending on the circumstances, there could be, if you're like in a cold situation, you could be revived. I mean, so death is not absolute anymore, physical death, just due to medical stuff, right? So that's just physical. Your physical body, in theory, it dies, and it could be like, blah, that's it. So, I have to tell you, I'm not big on the AI thing. I think it's kind of redonkulous. I in many respects, I think that it's overhyped. I think it's ridiculous. And I think that too many people are too excited about it. And I think too many people are not excited enough. And I think that there should be a happy medium somewhere in there. As someone who likes to research, though, that summary at the beginning, if you do a quick research and there's like, ooh, hey, AI overview, if they just took out the AI part and said overview, I wouldn't even know that it was an AI overview. And I would just be like, ooh, look at this. It's a summary. Isn't that awesome? They've been doing that for years, and they just called it a summary or overview. So think about that for a moment. Years, guys, years. Anyways, so according to the Bible, death is, this is the AI summary here. Death is the irreversible cessation of all vital functions of an organism, marking the end of its life. It can be understood as the termination of bodily processes like breathing and heartbeat, leading to the end of consciousness and the eventual decay of the physical body. And from a philosophical perspective, death can also be seen as the separation of the soul from the body, or the completion of one's life journey. Okay, cool. And it breaks it down to irreversible cessation is the point where the body stops functions and can't be restored. All right. Yeah, Leo, I totally agree. So hi, guys, on YouTube, if you haven't seen me for a while. Leo says, some of it scares me, but I do admit I like it for researching some things. Absolutely. I'm talking about AI. So vital functions is cessation of breathing, heartbeat, brain activity, particularly in the brainstem. So, there have been evidences and situations where people have been born without a brain, but only a brain stem, and have had completely normal lives, and nobody knew about it people knew about it because at the time of birth, the baby's born, and they're like, but they survived just fine. So isn't that interesting? So clinical death is often used in a medical context because it refers to the cessation of the heartbeat and breathing. And brain death is generally the irreversible loss of brain function, including brain stem, according to the Uniform Determination of Death Act. Yeah, that's in the US, guys. And that particular act has been both a help and a hindrance in many legal cases where someone has wanted to take a person off of life support according to their wishes and their living will, because they didn't want to be on life support, or because someone wanted to donate organs to because they wanted to save other people's lives, or because someone's been in a coma for a long time. They're like, this person's never going to come back to life. I want to take them off life support so they can just expire because it's the right thing to do. And that, man, is that a bumpy road. So, according to AI here, the philosophical perspective is the separation of soul and body, or the end of life's journey, can be viewed as the completion of an individual's life story and experiences. That's very poetic for an AI. Or the transition to another state. So some believe death is a transition to another state of existence, either a spiritual realm or a continuation of consciousness in some form. Also, pretty darn poetic for an AI. Very poetic. So, that's interesting according to the AI, but we're not here to teach what the AI believes. We're here to talk about what I believe, right? So, something that I have kind of been developing, I guess, over the years in the background outside of the spaces between, or participating in various events or workshops or teaching events, that kind of thing, or what have yous, is kind of developing what I call the wild way, because it seems to be unique, but yet I don't understand why it is. So yeah, there you go. I believe in all the gods, guys. I believe all of them. It doesn't room from Christ to Zeus. They're all there. They all have some sort of spiritual energy to them. They all, so it's an omnitheism type of belief. And the big thing here, I guess, is that I don't work with all of them. I just believe in all of them. Because not all of them pertain to me. Not all of them are my dude, I guess. For the, yeah, none of them are my thing. And so being an omnitheist means that even though I don't work with them personally, and yet I do believe in them, I kind of mock all of them equally, joke about them all equally. But I also give some credence to all of them equally, for the most part. I also roll my eyes at all of them kind of equally, but I feel pretty comfortable in a theology discussion with several different groups of people. So when it comes to talking about death in general, I have a very, very different viewpoint, I guess, because we as people, when we approach death or experience death, yeah, there's a separation. There really is, because a lot of the problems that we experience with death have to do with the grief surrounding death and the loss that we experience, right? And the fear, right? So we often fear what we don't know or we don't understand. And I mean, how often do we die and see what's going to happen next? Not very often, honestly. There are a few people have come back, and they have a wide variety of different tellings, a wide variety. And I think a lot of it has to do with their own personal belief systems and ancestries. And so because of that, we fear instinctively what's going to happen next. I mean, honestly, think about it. If you've never been somewhere, say you're walking down, you're got a hood thrown over your head, you're thrown in a dark car, you're absolutely lost, you have no idea where you're going. You're pulled out of the car, you're stuck in a hallway, the hood's pulled off, and there's just kind of this light down at the bottom that you just have to follow along in this long tunnel. And there's a door at the end of it, right? And you get to the doorway and you have zero idea what's on the other side of the door. There's no noise. There's no temperature. There's nothing. Everything's neutral, right? And even when you touch the door, it's like you have gloves on that are like, and you really can't feel anything. And you can't, there's no sensation of touch, there's no sensation of sound or smell. And the only thing you can see is this light in front of you. You're following along as you're moving. And you don't even feel like you're walking, you're just kind of moving. And you get to the door and you have zero idea what's on the inside. Now, most of us are going to stand at that door or be in front of that door, and we're going to be experiencing just a little bit of trepidation, right? Wonder, WTF, what's going on? fear, trepidation, concern, worry, uh, you know, concern. Yeah, concern, worry, trepidation. Those are good words. Those big words, because we don't know. And if we don't know, are we going to be like, woohoo, let's take it on. Let's go see what's on the other side. Or are we going to be like, can we crack the door open just a little bit, peek through it, see what's happening? Do we have to rush through this? Or can we nudge the door open and go slowly? Well, most people are, in general, are just going to be kind of, let's kind of nudge it. Because most people, stop and think about everybody that you know. Everybody. Out of everybody that you know, think about where they were born. They were probably born at the hospital closest to where they live. They probably have not moved out of the community where they live. Or if they have, they've not moved out of the county where they live. They probably have never left the state. Or if they did, it was for like a quick, like a school trip when they're in grade school or something. It was very chaperoned, and it was just there and back, and that was it. And they probably have worked in, if they went to college, it was probably local. They didn't go very far. And they've probably worked in a similar job most of their life, and they have probably zero desire to retire somewhere other than where they're at. They don't have a plan to, like, for instance, if they live in Maine, they have zero desire to retire in Texas, right? Now, I'm not saying all people, I'm saying most people. So say 70% of the people that you're around. Just pulling a number out of my head, just like most statistics. So if it's 70% of the people, that means 70% of the people in the world really do fear death, right? They're just like, I'm not really excited about death. That means 70% of the people are really concerned about aging, which is why there's so much money spent on marketing and for anti-aging crap, because they're afraid of dying. They're afraid of getting older. And they're so busy fighting aging and getting older that they often forget to live, honestly. So they're stuck. They're stuck in that little category. They probably often have the same group of friends or same type of friends. So if you've got, your friend box, if you will, you've got that same type of friend your entire life, or they have. Most people don't like change. And so they stay in that little bitty niche. And death is a huge change. And that's part of the reason why when someone dies in your circle, it's such a shock. It's like that pillar has just caved on you, and now you've lost one of your supports, and it's like, oh, what do I do now? I've lost this support mechanism that I had. Seriously. And because you've lost that support mechanism, it's like, now what do I do? Well, guys, honestly, it wasn't a support mechanism. It was just a person. So breathe. So as an omnitheist, what is death then? So death, guys, is just a doorway. That's part of the reason why I use the hallway and the door analogy. It really is a door. And all we have to do is go through the doorway. And what's on the other side? Well, that's the next adventure. Honestly. My personal philosophy is that we are here for one of three things on this earth. We are here to teach, We are here to learn, or we are here to do both. Now, I'm not saying that those are comfortable things, because often they are not. Usually they are not. Growth all by itself is a very painful process. Teaching and watching somebody else grow is a very painful process. So if you're here to learn, often it is painful. And I'm sorry, it is. Teaching, like I said, is awful painful to watch. Now, this doesn't mean you're out there to inflict pain, because often growth doesn't have to be like this huge painful thing, for crying out loud. It can be uncomfortable. Right? Growing pains as you're getting older, for crying, seriously. But that's what it is. Teach, learn, or both. So when you cross from this world to the next, or from this life to the next, are you going to teach, learn, or both? Well, it depends. Did you learn what you needed to, or do what you needed to in this life? I don't know. That means in your next life, your next adventure, are you there to teach, learn, or both? And sometimes, you know what? I'm pretty sure that there is a period of time where you can just, hey, you know what? I'm done. I've accomplished all of those things that my soul, my spirit has set out to do. And that is why there are places like the Elysian Fields or Valhalla or heaven. Really, truly. And you know what? Even though the Christian hell is within the Christian religions itself, it does exist. Yes, because yes, there are places for people or spirits that are that have been deemed unredeemable, because we've all encountered some of those. There are spirits out there that are just, I guess that makes four. Teach, learn, or both, or those that are just not redeemable. They've decided, no, we're not going to teach. No, we're not going to learn. We're not going to do any of that. Screw the system. We're doing our own damn thing. And those, they can't fit the system. Those are the ones that get to go somewhere else to either go through the constructive relearning period, or and come back to fit the plan, or don't. And that's that. Pretty simple, I think, but at the same time, pretty profound. I'm not afraid of death. I am afraid of my loved ones dying, but not because I'm afraid of where they might end up going or what's going to happen to them after death. I'm afraid of them dying because, you know what? I will miss their presence in this life. I will grieve for them. And that is normal. That is the hard part of death for me. So I guess dying isn't the hard part. It's the living. Because it's the loss of those people that have gone before me. That's the part I fear. Because those loved ones, those folks that are within my circle, yeah, I don't want those folks to go. Those are my people, man. But I also know that they've been there for my journey, and I've been supporting them for theirs. At some point, I know they have to leave. It doesn't mean I have to like it. So it just means I still have to support them, though. And it's not right for me to put my fear on them. And I think a lot of what has gone wrong with our interpretation of death in our society today is that fear, those fears. Fear is, man, fear has corrupted our society, I think. There's fear of a loss of money, fear of a loss of food, fear of a loss of medication, fear of a loss of medical care, fear of a loss of, you name it. Fear I'm not going to have my internet. Fear I'm not going to be able to watch my favorite TV show. Fear of this, fear of that. We're all afraid of, those things, losing those things, and that fear, that loss of, that fear of loss. I think we're more afraid of that than we are of death. And so, there's some things I'd like to accomplish before I die. So, and I'd be bummed if I didn't get them done first. And, and that bothers me. And so my to-do list, that I have, it's not a bucket list, it's a to-do list. My to-do list. Yeah. My to-do list. I want to make sure I have that done before I die, but that's it. It's my fear of loss of others that I'm more worried about than anything else, which, is, I don't know. I don't know if that's, is how other people feel. If you're following along, and you drop it in the chat, that'd be cool. But, it's that concern, I guess, what is it that I really fear? What is it that I really worry about? And that is it. That concern, what is it? So, last year, for those of you who know or don't know, my younger boy, he's 30 now, by the way, had multiple strokes. That was pretty eye-opening. And it upset me. And it was devastating. Oh, my stars, because he's so young, he wasn't quite 30 yet when he had his strokes. He's doing pretty doggone good now. He really is. And that's fantastic. And he's healed and he's come back and he's done so well in his recovery. He had strokes in his brainstem and in his right rear orbital lobe or right rear lobe. And so there's some permanent damage to overcome. And technically, I think he did actually die. And when he was in his coma, and that's part of the reason why he was in the coma. Well, that and multiple strokes and all that jazz. But it's touch and go there for a while. It was just crazy, right? But he's fine now, a year later. And through it all, it was initially devastating. But then I remembered, it's his journey, it's his life. And if it's his time to go from this life to the next, then it's his time to go from this life to the next, and I'll meet him again in the next life. And sometimes that's just the way it needs to be. And often the folks that we experience and meet and encounter and spend time with in this life are the same folks that we're going to spend time with in the next life. Now, there is going to be some overlap and we'll encounter other folks in the next life. And that's the way it's supposed to be also, because we will make different choices and we'll have different experiences and we'll do different things. because that's the way it's supposed to be. The lessons are supposed to expand and have this ripple effect across the universe and do different things. And that's what it's for. The things we learn now are supposed to spread out and go on, like the drop of a pebble into a pond, and have that ripple effect and go out. And so, and that's what it's for, that's why we are learning the things, and that knowledge is supposed to expand. So if it was his time, it was his time. And people kept telling me, "Oh, you're so strong. You're handling this so well. I don't know how you're handling it so well." And I told, and finally I had to start telling people, it's like, I'm a pagan priestess and I have a different approach to death. And if it's his time, then it is his time. And I accept that. And they just looked at me like I was insane. But, but at the same time, it was so freeing to be able to just say, "Hey, this is who I am, and I've got it." Because while I was devastated that I could lose my son, there was this possibility. It was like I didn't have this weight on me that I was afraid that he was going to die and go somewhere else, go to hell, the Christian hell. And I know, like, for many of my family members, so I don't know, for those of you who have followed me for a while, I have some other family members that are very, very devout Christians, and they're awesome folks, and they're very strong in their beliefs, and it's great, right? But they also have a lot of worry and stress in their life. Like worry, oh, well, I'm worried that so and so isn't going to go to heaven because their beliefs just aren't strong enough, or this isn't strong enough. And before my grandmother passed, she's like, "Oh, my greatest wish is that I'll see you guys in heaven, because I really want you to follow this path, and I want this to happen. I want blah blah blah." And it's like, it was such a worry for her, and it's like, wow, that's, and now in retrospect, because hey, I'm 20 years older than I was, looking back, that was such a heavy burden for her to carry all the time. It's like, can you imagine carrying that weight around? Ugh. And that's part of the reason when someone comes to me and asks about Christianity, it's like, you know what? I can answer some basic questions, but if you really want to learn more about Christianity, I got to refer you out to someone else, because I'm not the best person to talk to you about Christianity. Sorry, man. I can give last rites, though. I am ordained, so I can help out, in a pinch, but for the real deep dives, I'm not the right person for you. So, because I'm just not, but I'm just not very good at guilt, I guess, and that kind of thing. And I really felt like a lot of Christianity was about guilt, and that's that kind of thing. And it just, oh baby, I just don't want to carry that kind of thing around. And there are other spiritual paths that have a lot of guilt and that kind of thing. But just thinking about my grandmother, and how much guilt she carried, and how much worry she carried for her family, and for them to follow the similar Christian path. I was like, man, sorry, Grandma. That's not my path, because I don't want to have to carry that burden. And I don't. And it was one of those, major realization things when my son was in that really major health scare, that I didn't have that burden, that extra guilt burden on top of everything else to worry about. And now I really, really appreciated that. So, going back to what is death? Well, death is just the end of this physical form, That's all it is. So when you look in the mirror and you look at yourself and you're like, you know, this physical form just kind of sucks. I don't like the freckles. My hair's getting gray. Still, I have hormone acne now, which is great. Yay, menopause. Um, you know, I can't lose the weight around the middle. Like, yay, menopause. Um, you know, I'm slowing down. I'm, you know, whatever. Or other people, hey, I've got red hair. Or, oh, hey, I've got brown hair or black hair or curly hair. Or, you know, hair is easy to change, guys. Just don't stress about it. Or freckles, don't worry about freckles. Uh, People like freckles. Even if you don't, your significant other probably will. Just saying. Same with dimples. Those things that you dislike about yourself, odds are pretty good your partner will find that they're adorable and that's why they're dating you. Just a hint. Um, or maybe the size of your feet, you don't like that. You know what? This physical form that you're dealing with right now, this will pass. You know, this is temporary. This is just a fleeting moment in the grand scheme of the cosmos. And it'll end. So there's a common phrase that shows up periodically. It shows up in a movie occasionally or a book or whatever. Death is just the beginning. Yeah, death is just a doorway. It just is a transition from this period to the next. It really is. And there is no reason for us to be so stressed about it. And I wish that fewer people would be so focused on it. You know, just because there is so much money invested in the pharmaceutical industry or the cosmetic industry, or, you know, I'm sure there's cults around it. You know, there's so much around death, so much money spent on death, right? So what? Death is one of those few things that will actually just, everybody has to experience it in some way, shape, or form. And I think it's one advantage that farm kids have over city kids is they often experience death long before a city kid ever will. Mini me, because we have critters. Honestly, she's seen death. She has experienced death. And I won't say she's like neutral to it, but I mean, it's doesn't really care about it. Well, with the animals, I mean, I lost my Merlin this month. July's been a rough month. My Merlin kitty passed away. So yeah, that was kind of a crappy thing. Oh boy, bright light. Um, um, and so I miss my Merlin kitty. And you know, at some point I'll have a new kitty, I suppose. But for now, I have my drama kitty, and that's it. And that's okay. Because that was hard. That was a hard one. But it's because I miss him. I miss my Merlin, you know? Just like I miss my grandma. And I've had a couple of friends pass on from this life to the next, and I've missed them. And, you know, it's, you know, that's all there is to it, you know? They've just passed from this life to the next. It doesn't mean that I won't see them again or talk to them again. It just means that they are no longer within my current journey. as they were. That's all. So, as I'm wrapping it up, I'm Paisley Wilde. This is the Spaces Between, where we talk about almost anything. Today, we've been talking about what is death. And death, well, it's just a doorway from this life to the next. And, you can't take the things from this life to your next life other than the things that you've learned. And it's probably better that way, honestly. Yeah, Lucky, it really is hard when a friend leaves this plane. That's why we have so many memorials or end memoriams to those that have passed from here to the next. So, I guess on that note, I'm going to let y'all go because I need to go start making dinner already. I'm starving. A different note. So I hope you guys have a good week. And even though our icons are starting to pass from this life to the next, which is crazy, it's hard to believe, right? I don't know what to think about that. As a Gen Xer, I'm not ready. Not ready at all. For those that have passed on, if you want to remember them, a death tea or a death dinner, actually also called a mute tea or a mute dinner is good. A mute meal, MUTE, or a dumb, DUMB, dumb meaning mute, phraseology and all that from Once Upon a Time. Basically, it means you leave, you have the entirety of the meal or the tea time or coffee, whatever, in absolute silence, in memory of the person that has passed on, and you serve them still with their own meal or their own dish, kind of like the fallen soldier setting that you might see in a restaurant or a cafe. They have a place setting that nobody sits at, similar to that, but you do it at home in the privacy of your own space. So it's very similar, but in private. But yeah, you do the mute tea. Every so often, I'll do something similar. I'll have a cup of coffee, crack of dawn, out on the back porch as the sun comes up and the birds are chirping, and basically it's having a cup of coffee with my grandma, because that's what she did. Then it was good, So, yeah. Anyways, so I'm going to try to be on more often, just so you guys know, get back into the swing of things. My life has mellowed so much more. I've moved many things off of my plate so I can be here and get back into teaching again and, expanding on the wild way and talking about stuff, talking more about herbology and just things in general. So, but yeah. I think we're going to probably hit on some big topics, such as what is death. That's kind of a big one, because most people just assume that it's you die, you either go to heaven or hell. Well, death is not like a yes or no question. Here, pass me a note. Check yes or no. Nope, it's not that simple. And it's more like a hydra, sort of. Anyways, it's a doorway. Death is just a beginning. You pass from this life to the next. It's real simple, kids. Live your life with purpose and intent. Don't fight the aging process. Don't spend so much money on that crap. Let the wrinkles show. It's just a roadmap to your experiences. Anyways, hope you guys have a good day, good week, and I will see you next time. This is Paisley Wilde. Welcome to the spaces between, and we'll see you again. So merry meet and merry part and merry meet again. We'll see you again.